Oh, and the puppies are at it already. They at it already. So, little bit of puppy time. Little bit of puppy time. Let's talk spices, folks. Spices. Lots and lots of spices. Now, I grow my own basil, right? And I dehydrate it, grind it down so I have my basil spice. I grow my own parsley, and yes, I reuse the spice jars. I wash them out, reuse them. Basil, see? Okay. Chives, grow my own chives. Grow my own garlic. Right? Now this is garlic I've had fermenting since (2020). This garlic right here is now turned into a compound they call Alare. Okay? One clove will help regulate your blood pressure and help repair your lining of your arteries and blood vessels. But some of the spices that you absolutely need to pick up, especially if you're going to be doing canning or storing rice and this is what all of this is here. Okay, storing rice or doing things of that nature. You absolutely need yellow mustard seed, celery seed, ground mustard, more peppercorn, right? Peppercorn. Moving stuff around. Dill weed, right? You're gonna need dill weed if you want to make pickles, right? Ground cumin, right? This is just, you see the little ones got more dill seed, right? Just you need to have these, right? Turmeric. Now these are the little spice jars. What I like about this is I can pull this out. And I've got cloves and coriander and cinnamon and bay leaves. Oh my God, you need bay leaves, okay? You absolutely need bay leaves. I would highly recommend that you pick up a big thing of bay leaves because you're going to be using bay leaves a lot if you're doing rice and things of that nature. Another thing you need, right? It's my sage. I love sage. Is dried vegetables, right? This is just dried vegetable mix that I picked up online, right? And I just put it in a mason jar with an oxygen absorber, and I just take it out as I need to add to my soups and stuff, right? Bell peppers, right? Same thing, right? Since I can't really grow bell peppers here, I've got it on hand to add, and it's up here in my usable storage, to add to like my spaghetti sauce and when I make my egg souffles, right? Onion powder, right? Now, I will say this. If you have dogs and you're expecting to be feeding these dogs what you're cooking, do not add onion to anything. Okay? A little bit of garlic is okay for them. Not a lot, right? But onion is toxic. Onion, raisins, cran raisins, anything of that nature is toxic for dogs. Peas, right? I got dehydrated peas. Okay? I've got dehydrated carrots, right? Got a whole bunch of them. You see, I reused the jars, right? Pickling salt. You definitely need pickling salt, right? Gotta have that. Vanilla extract. You need that. Citric acid. You need that, right? Pickling spice. See how I pick up the big things. Not the little teeny little ones. The little ones are here. I refill them out of the big ones. Right? See? There's my turmeric. You know, I got a whole bunch of stuff up here. I've got my I believe this is veggie bouillon, right? Taco seasoning mix for my tacos. I mean, spices, folks. Spices is the spice of life, right? I got my Himalayas pink salt. I got both the rock kind and the ground kind. And I can ground my own. I got poultry seasoning. I got it all, right? I got it all. Because I like to cook. Okay? And when I cook, I like things to taste different. Okay? And you know, I've got raw honey, right? I got raw honey. 100% pure raw honey. I got regular honey. Okay? I got maple syrup. Okay? Straight off the farm around here. Maple syrup. Now, the one spice, if you're doing a lot of pressure canning, you need to pick up cream of tartar. Now, let me tell you about cream of tartar. If you take a tablespoon of cream of tartar and put it in the water around your jars as you're pressure canning, it will take the black marks off of the inside of your pressure canner. It's perfectly safe to do that, and I thank the YouTube ladies who do a lot of canning, who taught me how to can. I thank them for that tip. Okay? But when you want to save money, right? And you're building your pantry, okay? You don't want to buy things that are just going to sit on the shelf and never be ate. I had this discussion with a couple friends of mine this week because I bought a bunch of stuff, telling you the truth. I bought a bunch of stuff, and I said, I went back there and I'm looking through my pantry because, you know, it's springtime. So what do we do in the spring? We do spring cleaning, right? One of the things I do is I go through and I do an inventory of my pantry for the year. I did just say for the year. And, you know, when you're going through there and you're looking at that, you're like, okay, I've used, here's a good example. I've used 25 pounds of sugar this year. I've used 9 of the Maxwell House 100% Colombian. Favorite coffee right here. Some of y'all gonna say, I hate that coffee. That's cheap coffee. Okay, whatever. This is my favorite coffee. This is what I drink, okay? I do not drink anything else. I drink Maxwell House. So I said, I use 9 of those. I've got 6 on the shelf, which means I need to buy 3 more. Right? Simple. Simple to do. My jellies. I reuse my jelly jars. If I buy Smuckers, which I do a lot, I like Smuckers, I reuse the jelly jars for my sugar. This frees up my canning jars for actual canning. I reuse my Prego jars for either my dehydrated vegetables or more sugar, right? My peanut butter, Jiffy peanut butter jars, right? Nice heavy duty plastic. I wash these out and use these for nuts, bolts, screws, what have you, right? So these are all washed out, ready to go, and it's frugality, right? Frugality. You want to have the ability to have supplies on hand that you actually use. So, while doing my inventory, I'm sorry, it's going to get a little dark here for a minute, but that's okay. We're going into my canning room. Okay, and I'm up in here this week. See, Ron Foster books. Like Ron Foster books. Really good author. If you haven't heard of him, he's a really good author. And I'm looking up in here, and I'm like, oh, wow. What did I find? Flour. Flour from 2020. This is no good. So, all that flour that's in there, don't know if you can see it. All that flour down there, don't know if you can see it. All of that is trash. So that's a mistake I made. Okay? It's a mistake I made. Here's another mistake I made. I dehydrated frozen vegetables, right? And as you can see, they're turning brown. These are no good. So I've got to do spring cleaning coming up in here. I've got to go through here and all this stuff that I canned up years ago, like 2022, 2021, 2018. It's got to be cleaned out, and the jars have got to be cleaned and washed before fall. And right? So all of this dried goods I've got to go through and make sure it's okay. Like the lentils are good to go, right? They'll never go bad. But I'm going through here and I'm like, there's a mistake I made. Let me share that, because I don't want you to make the same mistake, right? Instead of flour, I want you to buy wheat berries. Wheat berries. And get yourself a grinder and you make your own flour. Okay? If you drink sodas, and you'll see it down here. If you drink sodas, you can use these soda jars for water. Now this is, if you just leave the water sit there, like these have been sitting here for a while, this water here is not drinkable because it's been sitting so long. But it is good for flushing the toilet. It is good for washing your hands, cleaning up with. Or you can get the little things that go on the top of these little 2-liter bottles, and you can go stick them out in your garden, and it'll water your garden. Okay? Frugality, folks. Frugality. Now, washing soap. I'm going to tell you what I do. You see, I got one I'm using and one behind it. You see, I got one I'm using and one behind it. Simple. This means I rotate through it. Okay? Simple, simple, simple. It's just, and you reuse things. You reuse things. Now, up in here, I'm going through here, and I'm saying to myself, Why in the hell did I buy sardines? I don't eat sardines. Guess what? My dogs do. Right? Why in the hell do I got potted meat? I don't eat potted meat. Guess what? My dogs do. Okay? So even if you make a mistake, you can sit there and use up your mistake. Okay? Mixed vegetables. I don't eat a lot of mixed vegetables. Guess what? Dogs do. Right? Vienna sausages. I bought the original. That's for the dogs. It's got pork in it. I don't eat pork. Simple things to do if you make a mistake. Use it up anyway. Use it for something else. If you write down everything that your family uses in a month, and yes, I know that's a lot like homework, right? But you write down, okay, here's a good example. Okay, I go through the Suave shampoo. I go through about 2 or 3 of these a month. Guess what? I got one there I'm using. I got 2 to back it up. Okay? I go through the bubble bath about once a month. Guess what? I got one in there I'm using. I got one right here to back it up. Okay? See what I'm saying? I go through this Suave body wash. I go through one of these a month. Guess what? I got one in there. It's almost done, and I got a couple here ready to back it up. So you see the redundancy. See the redundancy. See, I got a crate here in case the crate in the living room for the dog goes bad. Redundancy. The good thing about this crate is if I do have to bug out of here, guess what? That's big enough for all 6 of my chickens. See where I'm thinking? You need to consider options, right? Options. If I lose power, I got my solar generators. I got my generator out on the back porch, right? If I don't have any power whatsoever and it's cold, guess what? I got a propane heater. I got my kerosene heater right there, okay? And I got my big solar generators. Okay? Back up to back up to back up. That's what I want you to get into your mind. And, you know, I watch all these prepper channels, and they're all saying, well, you got to buy this, and you got to get this thing, and you got to get that thing. And I fell into that a little bit. And I fell into a little bit of a thing about, well, you can can this, and you can can that. And guess what? No, you can't. If you're going to get into canning, I highly recommend that you stick with the Ball canning books and you stick with the FDA recommended canning practices. Because nothing will break your heart more than working 4 or 5 hours to can up something, and then you go pick it up off the shelf and that food is bad. That will absolutely break your heart for the money that you bought to put in the canning jars and the time that you spent to do the canning. And now you need it, and it's no good. Okay? So I highly recommend that you watch channels that do canning, and they don't do crazy canning like canning cornbread. Okay? Look for people who stick to the recommendations that have been around for 50 years or more, that's been proven to work. It boggles my mind how people get online and they tell you you've got to have 10 years of supplies. No, you don't. You don't need that. What you need to do is you need to build a system. You need to build a rotating pantry. Okay? You need to build backups of what you typically use. If you don't eat beans and rice, do not buy beans and rice. I don't care what prepper out there tells you to buy it. If you don't eat it, don't buy it. Okay? If you don't eat tomatoes, don't grow them. You're wasting garden space doing that. Okay? It boggles my mind that people will follow people on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and they will just fall into this, I've got to have this. And then you ask them, okay, here's a good example. Antibiotics. Antibiotics and medications. Do you take medications? You might want to talk to your doctor and see if you can't get a 90-day supply, right, of your medications. Okay? Antibiotics. Okay. You want antibiotics? Why? Number one. And number two, did you use antibiotics last year for any reason whatsoever? Okay. Think about it. Why spend your hard-earned money on things that you don't use in a year? Now, should you have some basic antibiotics on hand? Absolutely. Absolutely. But you're more well prepared if you learn a little bit about the damn weeds that are growing in your backyard and in your front yard or down in the park that can do the same thing that pharmaceutical medication can do. And it's a lot fresher than antibiotics that you've had stored on the shelf for who knows how long, which loses its efficiency after a while. Okay? Should you have some over-the-counter medication? Absolutely. If you use anti-diarrhea medications, which I'm sure everybody does, or Sudafed, or Tylenol, or Benadryl, you should have some of that on hand just in case. Cough syrup, you should have some of that on hand just in case. But don't go crazy and think that you've got to have an entire room full of a pharmacy in your home. You don't need that. What you need is what you would typically use within a year. And I say a year, and some of you need to use something within a week, okay? But if you typically do not take anything for 6 months, let's say, why would you have 100 packages of it? Makes no sense. You're wasting your money. And that's what I want you to stop and think about, okay? Because let's be honest, a lot of these preppers out here on these channels will talk you into things. Because trust me, they miss their calling as used car salesmen. Okay? They definitely miss their calling for that. Because they definitely are selling y'all a whole bunch of goods that ain't going to benefit anybody but themselves. Because all this stuff that they're selling you, this little gadget and that little gadget, they're getting kickbacks on. So they're making money. Whereas you're losing money because you're never going to use it. It's going to sit up in the damn corner and gather dust. And then it's going to go bad. And then you're going to be like, I can't believe I spent $400 on this thing and I ain't never used it. Or God forbid you spend that kind of money and then you get it and you use it once and it breaks. And then you can't get it fixed. Fancy gear does not do the trick. Use common sense, right? Use common sense. Flashlights, candles, that'll do you in a pinch, right? Because let's be honest, the only time that you're really worried about light is when the sun is down. And then you want to exercise caution when you do that, because other people are looking for the people that got lights, right? So you want to exercise that caution. But my house is a mess. But my thing is, if you use up, let's say, 4 pounds of sugar in a month, well, then you need to buy 12 bags of 4 pounds of sugar. You don't need more than that. If you only use 12 eggs in a year, that's all you need. You don't need to have chickens out there. Okay? Unless you like to have chickens. I mean, common sense, folks. Common sense. Save yourself some money. I drink sodas. I save these soda bottles sometimes. Don't all the time. Be real here. Not a hoarder. I save these soda bottles sometimes so that I can, since where I'm at in the summertime, we might not get rain very much. So I use them in the garden a lot, and I save some to keep a little bit of water on hand for washing up or whatever. Now, where I live at, I can walk right across the street over there, and there's a big-ass ditch I can get water out of. And I got a gravity filter where I can filter it out. Now, I wouldn't use it for drinking, but I can filter it out and use it for washing. I want you to realize that some people don't know what they're talking about, but they sound like they know everything. I do not. I will be the first one to tell you, I am not an expert in anything. I just know the basics. There's a lot I don't know. There's a lot I continue to learn. Right? But yeah, that's what I had for you today. Reuse stuff, right? I like my coffee. I got a backup of my backup, right? I'm gonna have my coffee, right? Now, on top of that, I got water. I can make water, make instant coffee. Okay? See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Backups are backups. Right? So, the old saying, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. Think of that. I like my spices. I got a lot of spices because I like to cook. I like to cook everything. Okay? I cook my own food. I don't buy it. Now, I did go to Domino's last night, I gotta say. But I haven't done that in 4 or 5 months. Wasn't impressed. But, yeah. Do what works for you. A good starting point. Write down everything that your family uses You can just start with a week. Everything your family uses in a week. Just your normal stuff, your laundry detergent, your soap, your shampoos, right? Even clothing, nuts, bolts, screws, tape, right? Simple things. Everything you use for a week, write it down. Okay? Then look at when you go to the grocery store, instead of just buying for the week, simply put one extra in the basket. So, here's a good example. If you eat fruit cocktail and you go to the store and you normally go through 1 can of fruit cocktail a week, instead of just buying 1 can, buy 2. Put 1 on the shelf. And I highly recommend something like this, because what you can do is you can pull it out and the last one in goes to the back, and the first one, you know, the oldest one comes to the front. Do that. Get something like that. Get some kind of rotation system going like that. Absolutely. Think about, drink mixes and things of that nature. But don't buy stuff if you're not going to use it. If all you're going to do is buy the stuff and stick it in a box somewhere, or or a 55-gallon drum, you're wasting food. Because all that food is going to be bad by the time you pull it out. All of it. Now, everybody says, well, Mylar up this. And let me tell you about Mylar. Mylar, if it gets crinkled even a little bit, can make a hole. It's so thin, it can make a hole, and then everything in that Mylar bag goes bad. That's why I don't put things in Mylar. All my stuff goes in jars. Okay? Do I spend a fortune in jars? No, because I reuse them. I reuse them. And when jars go on sale, that's when I buy them. A little bit of common sense. Right? Spices never go bad. They are dried and dehydrated and put in jars, and very rarely have I ever opened up a spice jar that went bad. Okay? So, spices don't go bad. So, if you come across a whole bunch of spices on sale, and they're way on sale, pick them up. Eventually you'll use them. That's what I did here. Eventually I'll use all this. I hope this helps somebody understand what I'm talking about. See, I use this every day. So guess what? I got a spare right there. As soon as these get used up, I pull one down, then I order another one. It's called rotating. Right? All this stuff right here. Right? That's all for the animals, right? You notice that I go through it, I rotate it. It don't sit there forever. It gets rotated through. You cannot think in terms of society is going to completely collapse, and what I got has got to last me through. You can't think that way. It'll make you go crazy. Practical steps is what you need to do. If you try to do everything at once, you're going to give up on it, because it's going to become too difficult for you to keep up with. I did not start automatically with everything I had. I bought in steps. Okay? And that's what you got to do. You got to buy in steps. I didn't automatically buy chickens. I built a chicken coop. Then I thought about how much it would cost me per month to have the chickens, because they do cost. Trust me, they do cost. And they are particular. And they do need certain things. Certain antibiotics I have to give them. Certain vitamins I have to give them. Certain scratch and oyster shell and feed and pine shavings, right? That I have to give them. And in the winter I have to give them other things. Hot food to help them so that they stay laying. Okay? It's not just, you have to have a system, and you have to use practicality with everything you do. My fruit trees did not just grow as big as they are just by sticking them in the ground and not fertilizing them or not taking care of them. Just going to say that. My fruit trees got as big as they are because I took 5-10 minutes a day to go out there, make sure the roots were not clustered up with weeds, and fertilize them twice a year. For each different fruit tree. Okay? It just don't stick something in the ground and expect it to live and walk away from it. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Right? The failure rate is so high when you do shit like that that it's impractical, and it's a waste of money to do that. Okay? It just, think about what you're doing, folks. Just step back, take a mental break, and start from scratch. Just write down everything you use in a week and go from there. I mean, that's what you need to do. Because here's the reality, folks. If a snowstorm happens, a hurricane happens, some kind of a flood incident happens, God forbid a volcano goes off, God forbid a nuclear weapon goes off, the reality is that you want to maintain normalcy as much as possible in that kind of situation. So, practical steps is know what your family uses in a week, typically, and store that. Then make it 2 weeks. Then make it a month. Then make it 3 months. Eventually, you'll have a pantry like I do. You'll have a pantry like you see all these huge preppers have, and it'll last you. And you supplement that pantry with what you can do. If you're in an apartment, you're kind of screwed. Okay? Because you can only store what you can store. Right? And don't think, oh, one and done. No. Freeze-dried is great. MREs are great. They are merely a backup of normal food. Unless you eat freeze-dried all the time, let me tell you, you're in for a world of hurt. Because most freeze-dried tastes like cardboard. And I eat a lot of freeze-dried because I go camping. And I can tell you that. High in sodium, and it tastes like cardboard. 90% of them. And I've tried pretty much every one on the market. Get what is a backup for what you have. Okay? Yes, it's great to have that because it's, let's be real. It says 25-year shelf life. Well, if you wait till that thing is 25 years on the shelf life, well, by the time you open it, you got dust. So, practicality, folks, a little bit of common sense. But my focus today was on spices, right? Because I've heard so many of these channels go on about the freeze-dried and buy this canned food, buy protein, buy this, buy that. Okay, yeah, you need that. But you need it for what your family uses and what you eat. Not what somebody else is saying to buy. Okay? But the spices, you definitely want some spices. Because if you're stuck eating beans and rice all the time, if you ain't got no spices, yet that you're going to be like, I don't want to live. Because you don't want to eat. Because it just gets to that point where you're disgusted with it. Okay? So, I hope this helps somebody. I know I kind of bounced around a little bit, but that's how my brain works. And, like I said, focus on you, focus on your family, and focus on your needs. If you need electricity for a CPAP machine or dialysis machine or something of this nature that has to run, then you want to look at backup power. Okay? You absolutely need that. That's an absolute must. But if you don't need that, okay, backup power is nice to have, but it shouldn't be your priority. Your priority should be water, food, shelter. Those should be your priorities. A simple tent will do you well, right? Some food to take with you will do you well. And a simple 2-liter bottle filled with potable water will serve you until you get to where you got to be. Okay? Just, there's so many channels out there telling you how to get water here, how to get water there, how to filter water. I'm not going to go through all that. Think about what you use typically in a week and go from there. Bicycle.